Welcome back, everyone, to the latest episode of Manga Mustard for this month. I'm your host, Christian Ashley of Systematic Ecology, joined by the true Nika himself, the one who will lead the rebellion against the world government, TJ Blackwell. How you doing, TJ?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
And I gotta say, the episode that dropped today, really loved it. You guys did a great job on
Thank you.
One Piece and the deity structures and everything. I loved how you all focused on, you know, Luffy's presence in the story there. And we're going to be talking about One Piece 2 today, so that makes it even better.
Yeah.
All right. So, without any further ado, let's get into this bad boy. We're going to be starting with good old Chainsaw Man, where this is chapter 155, entitled "The Old Me."
Mm-hmm.
We Oh man, this is a big one. We kind of start with Nayuta is still surrounded by all the people out there who think that Chainsaw Man is a villain now, and that she's working with them. She's a devil, and then it gets to the point where Barum, who is the flamethrower,
Yeah.
flamethrower devil, yeah, points a gun to it, says, "Oh no, she's making me do it." She's just so slimy and reprehensible and evil. Like after all this man's done, like this just brings him down another peg. It's like such a good villain move though, but poor Nayuta in this situation, just surrounded by people, is kind of forced to try and get away. And we see in this little bit of a flashback that originally she was kind of closer in instincts to where Makima was while she was the control devil, and kind of gets back her memories of her time as Makima when it comes to Denji and how she wanted to ruin his life, and decides that's exactly what she's going to do this time around too, which was something I should have seen coming, like as
Yeah.
a reader. But like when it's actually displayed in front of me, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Until it gets to the part where she actually enjoys being a family with Denji to the point where he calls her family. And there's this weird moment. It's like we're not sure, is this her flashback? Is this Denji's flashback too? Are they joined together? Because it kind of shifts to him, and where he sees like a younger version of himself. It's like, family, that's kind of rich considering what we've done, to our dad. Um, and then he wakes up in a hospital room, like it's like, what's going on? All this. How did you feel about this chapter, TJ?
It's good. I feel like at this point, if you are one of the people who was a Chainsaw Man fan and didn't like part two, you're missing it. You're missing out huge.
Oh yes. It's like it's been a while since we talked about this. Like, where are you at right now? Like, feelings wise on part two.
I always liked part two, uh, because it kind of they kind of had to reset the story because we had a new control devil and there were other threats. It's not as action packed as part one, of course,
Yes.
but now, yeah, it's kind of catching up, and it still tackles themes so well through characters that are absolutely despicable. I was going to say likable, but they really aren't intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's so good.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed what Fujimoto is cooking up with part two. It's like it's completely different in a lot of regards to part one, and that's perfectly fine if you do it well. And in my opinion, he's done it really well. So I'm looking forward to what else comes for this story. Like, where does puts Naruto and Denji? Like, is she still affected by Makima at all, or is she going to just be her own person? Where's Asa going to come in and all this? How's the Chainsaw Man Church still kind of come in? Because after all the confusion and destruction they've caused, like the members who really didn't want to, controlled by the people who did. Yeah, I'm loving where we're at right now. So,
Yeah.
you got anything else you want to say before we move on?
No, not that I haven't already said. If you abandon the series, get back into it.
100% agree. So next up on our list, we have good old Dungeon Meshi slash Delicious in Dungeon. So TJ, I have only watched up to the current anime, which is at episode 7 today. So tell me what's going on.
Man, so I really wanted to talk about this just to get more people to watch it and read it because it is such a good story. It's it's silly, it's goofy, it's tense, it's funny. It's fantastic. And I can't believe it went under the radar for so long until it got this anime, which is also really good. It's
Yes.
fantastic. but it's like Shokugeki no Soma for people who aren't horny. Um, it's so good, and you just get to see a lovable group of adventurers making their way through a dungeon, trying to survive. And it deals with themes of death, dying, accepting that, and having to actually live for yourself and survive because they had forgotten what that was like. But it really is fantastic. The manga is finished, so if you are a dungeon meshy fiend and you're, anime current, pick it up. It's worth it. It's
How many?
short.
Yeah. How
Mhm.
many chapters are in this
97.
series? 97. Okay. So you think
Mhm.
like 24 episodes this season, then what? Another 12 plus?
Yeah, probably just 2 seasons.
Okay. That makes sense because I think they're scheduled for 24 this season. I may be misremembering, but yeah, I've really enjoyed it so far. It's like you said, it's that goofy little. Obviously, the author had the premise first, and then decided to build the world around that premise, and it's
Mhm.
done well. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a goofy idea of like, hey, well, everyone's always going down in dungeons and fantasy stories or isekai, blah blah blah, and to kill monsters and grow stronger and all that mess. But like, what if the monsters tasted good?
Yeah. What if it was like real life? You could make anything taste good.
Yeah, it's like as someone who has no cooking ability whatsoever outside of maybe using a George Foreman grill, like I appreciate when someone has a talent for it and they can display it to me. It's like bringing up Food Wars is like a good like counter to this in some ways. It's like as time went on, it got more ridiculous and more magical instead of like more grounded like it used to be. This is grounded in a magical world. Obviously, there are no such things as giant scorpions, that are this large, or a kraken that we just saw in this episode with parasites in it. Um, but what if they existed? What if it was possible to eat that? How would you prepare it?
Yeah.
Uh, what does it taste good with? What doesn't it taste good with? And then you got the whole premise being, I forget everyone's names because I'm still learning them, but our main character has lost his sister to a dragon attack in the dungeon, and she's been eaten. But with resurrection magic, it is possible, even should she leave that dragon's body, as food tends to do, you can still bring her back to life within a certain amount of time.
Mhm.
So that's something I don't really think about, but someone obviously the author did. It's like, well, what if that happened? And I'm like, okay, I'm 100% behind what you're doing here. Like, this is
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, I definitely encourage you guys to. If you have not been watching it, go watch it, but also do read the manga. I've only read the beginning just to where we're kind of caught up right now in the anime, but yeah, it's well worth your time.
Mhm. I just love it. It's so goofy, applying real world cooking techniques to monster body parts and in a dungeon. It's so fun. And it
Would
retains
you
that.
yeah. Would you TJ, would you qualify yourself as a cook?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how to cook.
Okay. So is there anything like that really like jumped out at you? It's like, man, I gotta try that. Or if it were real, I'd have to try that so far.
Pretty much everything.
That's
All of it.
fair. I don't know that those like Venus flytraps they saw early on. It's like I don't know if I'd ever try anything from that. Like, and it's weird too. Like, you would think. I mean, typically we don't cook predator species
Right.
in real life,
Right.
but
That's
I mean, for the
that's
setting,
for silly disease reasons. We get worms.
yes, yeah. But I'd be super interested. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that the scorpion they made a while back, like, I know I
Mhm.
would want to try that.
Yeah. It looks pretty good, but just for palate reasons, I feel obligated to try as much of it as possible.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And by the
Anything
end of the
else you
series,
want to go ahead?
yeah, just by the end of the series, they've convinced pretty much everyone. They're like, "Hey, monster tastes good. We should eat monster." And you see it go from
Which
like some
actually,
taboo to everyone's trying it.
yeah, which is kind of ingenious in its own way to do that thing because, like, you think, well, obviously we don't want monsters to come out and kill people. That's why we send people into dungeons and typical JRPG or anime light novel reasoning. But what if we gave extra incentive for it? And oh, they actually kind of taste good too. It's such a fun idea. So this is a charming series. It's not high stakes. I mean, there are some stakes in there. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the Demon King is coming back to life and we need to kill him or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's really nice to be able to slow down from the gun devil's gonna come destroy the world, or the war devil is here to kill everyone.
Which spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched read the manga. I don't think I make it because I'm pretty sure October was one of the months that killed people in. So
No.
I'm definitely glad I wasn't alive then.
Yeah.
It's not real. All right. Well, moving on from there, we go to good old Blue Box. Now, have you been reading this at all, TJ?
I've not.
Okay. Are you aware of the premise?
Nope.
Okay. Well, let me introduce you. 155 chapters in to sorry, no, that was Chainsaw Man. Let me try that again. 136 chapters in to Go Ame, which is the school's name. So our basic premise here is Taiki, the guy on the right. He's a badminton player at school. He always shows up early. And there's always one other person in the gym with him that early, and that's Chinatsu, who he has this huge crush on. She's part of the girls' basketball team. He's always looking up to her. She's like a year older than him. So there's the thing that obviously they don't interact in class because they're a year apart, especially with the Japanese school system, how that's set up. Like every now and then in the American school systems, you'll get some, blending of the different grades, but not so much as I understand the Japanese schooling system. So that's like their only interactions they really have until one day, Chinatsu shows up at his house because her parents are leaving to go work overseas. And Taiki's mom was old friends with her mom. So that gives her a place to stay. So obviously he's got wrestling with the whole feelings. How can he do that while she's in the house with him? Like, and not make her feel like he's a creep. He doesn't want her to feel like she's ever not safe there or anything like that. Until we kind of get over time, they finally come together as a couple, admitted feelings to each other. And we get to this current chapter where one of the side characters, Kyo, was it alongside one of his kind of possible love interests, Sayame, who's the manager of the badminton team, meet one of his old flames, Saki, as also his mom is there, kind of making fun of them, making it look like they're a couple. They're not ready for that right yet. He doesn't think she likes him because of some misunderstandings, classic, romantic trope at that point in time. But this gets Ayame jealous because, oh, this girl is also really pretty, knows him a lot better than me, and it's kind of infuriating to her. So she leaves off later on in a huff. The whole point during badminton practice, she's just like so angry. To like, who made her mad? They're all scared of her because they're really afraid of her anger. And we get another girl in class. Actually, as they've moved up a year in schooling since we first saw them, there's a younger student, Akari, who also likes Taiki, but is not aware that the two of them are in a relationship because, once again, they're living in the same house. So that whole cultural kind of aspect there of like, oh, people can't know, and we're not going to tell our parents yet because we're not ready to do that. So there's a little bit of that hidden romance there for them, which I know Pang would just die for if she actually got into this to read. But so she, Chinatsu, in an earlier chapter, in a pivotal basketball game, kind of sprained her ankle before they could win, and has kind of blamed herself for that loss. So Taiki was able to put her on his shoulders to take her away so she could cry away from everyone else, just to let her grief out. But Akari saw this, but didn't recognize him, recognized her. So everyone knows that no one's dating her right now. So there's this whole big, like, who could it be? So they're kind of setting that up for poor. I feel sorry for the girl. Like, she's going to get her heart broken. Like, I'd even kind of root for her if, I love Chinatsu and Taiki together as much as I do. So there's that. Then they're also preparing to go to nationals for badminton. We're kind of in this tournament where Taiki is going to have to go up against his senpai, who has kind of been the one who's been teaching him how to play better and all this. And it would be his last year, the senpai Haru, to have the chance to win the championship. So if Taiki wins, he takes him out from that contention. But if he loses, that means that he doesn't get the chance to win. So there's that whole rift there. As later on, when he goes back to the house, it's just him and Chinatsu together. And she comes into his room and asks him if she can come watch him because, kind of they've been, like I said, keeping their relationship on the down low. But she wants to be there. It could just look like she's just there with her friend, who is the girlfriend of Haru. So they're just hanging out while she could secretly cheer him on, which he says yes to. And then she puts the bombshell on him for the first time, tells him, I love you, and leaves the room. And that's where we end the chapter with him just like dealing with the repercussions of that. So this has been 136 chapters in the making, and I adore this series so much. Yeah. There was a little rift when there was some real bad love triangle shenanigans, like midway through, but finally that got resolved. But that's kind of like really my only big, like, I don't like this for the series. But other than that, I really love it. You have anything you want to say before we move on?
Sounds great.
Okay. Yeah, I do highly recommend it, guys. I've talked about it before with James. I actually got him to read it too while we did that. So that was a lot of fun. So moving on from there, we go to your second pick, which is Kagurabachi. So other than the phenomenon that this has become from all the memes from people saying this is the next best thing since sliced bread, simply because of how edgy it looked and how the first chapter started, like, I've kept up with it a bit. I haven't been as big on it as others, but I'm curious to see what your take is, because what are we on, chapter 20 or something like that?
It's like, yeah, 20.
Okay. So have at it.
So Kagurabachi, what a success story. Massively popular before it even released, because people just took the release photo and made a million memes out of it. And then a short fall off, because of course not all of those people were going to read it. But yeah, boy, should they have. Kagurabachi has kept up insanely well, and in 20 chapters has built an inviting, invigorating world. The lore is excellent. The power system is insane. It's mostly, we've got our enchanted swords that each have their own powers and one lifetime wielder until they die or the sword breaks, which we've only seen once, which just happened. We saw in chapter 19, Bachi broke the Cloud Gouger, which the previous 18 chapters had been building up to finding or getting back. And we're introduced to a new mythical power called the Flame Bone, which is wild so far. And I can't wait till the next chapter comes out to see the continuation of the fight. But there are weapons in the universe that can stand up to the enchanted blades that his dad made. So it's fun to see that. They've developed a really tense story where our protagonist is, against what is basically the Illuminati for enchanted swords.
Pretty much.
So we've got two good guys going against each other because they want complete control over the enchanted swords, and his dad made them all. So he doesn't he wants control over them. He wants them out of everyone's hands. So it's been really cool. We're in the auction arc, I think is what it's going to be called after this is done. But it's so cool seeing them try to hash out their own plans, and the rats within the Kaminavi is what they're called, to feed him information and work with him, and seeing them try to get him taken out when he's really just trying to save people and the swords. It's really good. Definitely pick it up. This isn't something you want to regret having to catch up on later, but it's fantastic. The action's good. The pacing is fast. There's never a dull moment. It's so good.
Yeah, only 20 chapters out. Like, it's not been my favorite thing in the world, but it's also not something I don't look forward to reading every week, because I do at the end of the day. Like, it's actually, I was thinking about this earlier. Like, are you reading everything new that's coming in Jump?
No.
Okay. how do you feel overall? Like, how much longer is Jump gonna last in its current state? Because you got My Hero about to go away. Chainsaw Man is now in just the Jump
Mhm.
Plus. Trying to think of what else is about to end right now. Oh gosh, I had other answers for this, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Jujutsu Kaisen is about to end fairly soon. Like, how do you see the longevity of the magazine at this point in time?
Well, Jump has survived losing Naruto and Bleach and Dragon Ball. I think Jump's gonna be okay. If people keep writing good manga, Jump will be okay. They just might
I think that's a big.
lose a little money
Oh,
for a
go ahead.
minute. No.
Yeah, I think sales will go down a little bit, but in my opinion, most of what's in the magazine right now isn't the best. It's not like they're the worst things in the world, but they're also just not as engaging as other matters. I mean, of course, you just had the Undead Unluck anime just come out, so that'll boost some popularity there. Blue Box is getting an anime, so that'll increase some popularity for it. But the younger stuff is what has me concerned because it just feels like a lot of stuff is just slipping by editors and then getting canceled after 16, 17, 18, 19 chapters. And that's always been a part of Jump. I only really started realizing this when I started reading it for the first time on my own. But it just feels like it's happening way more often. So I don't know if that's just how I perceive things or because, I mean, you're not reading everything in there, but a lot of stuff has kind of been there and then died, and then something new
Yeah.
comes that's kind of in there and dies. Kagurabachi being one of the few that at this point in time seems to be selling well enough, seems to have enough of an audience at such a young part of its maturation to get people to come to it.
Yeah, I feel like because Demons of the Shadow Realm is in Jump, isn't it?
Demons of the Shadow Realm.
Or is it
I
Demons
don't
of the Far
think
Realm?
so.
No, it's Shadow Realm.
Is that a Jump Plus?
Is it on Jump Plus?
Are you? Oh, you're talking about Arakawa
Yeah.
Sensei's who did
Mhm.
Full Metal Alchemist. No, that's in Monthly Shonen Gone, which
Mm,
apparently is owned by Square Enix.
really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's also a monthly too, so typically monthlies aren't in the regular Shonen
Yeah,
Jump,
they go in. Yeah, but
like Blue Exorcist is right now.
yeah, I think Jump will be okay as a company. I think Shonen Jump as a magazine, Jump Weekly might suffer. But people
Mhm.
don't give a lot of these young properties much of a chance these days.
Yeah.
It kind of has to go like viral.
I mean, like this one did.
Mhm.
Um, there's one that I really wanted to succeed. It was Red Hood. It was such a fun little kind of grim fairy tale, but with a more anime manga kind of take on the world. But that got canceled after like 19, 20 some chapters. Um, really missed that one. But there's others like I don't think they're giving them enough time to flesh them out, or
Yeah.
they just have the wrong editor. But I also think they're letting a lot of stuff slip in because they're desperate for something to replace things that is making the quality go down. So once again, I'm not a manga editor. I'm not in charge of such things. I'm still fairly new to this concept as someone who follows, as in following it weekly. But I'm trying not to be doom and gloom on this, but it just feels like we're losing something along the way.
Yeah, I think really what's happening is they're just focusing more on online properties because they're
Mhm.
not limited by like magazine page limit anymore. So Shonen Jump can just put out Twin Star Exorcist is still running, by the way.
Mhm.
Uh, it's
Yes.
actually still pretty good. But Blue Exorcist, Cypher Academy, uh, Haikyuu is still not over, uh, which is insane. 400 chapters. Uh, One Piece, Kaiju number 8, which is getting animated, which makes me really
Yes.
sad because it's getting animated exclusively on X.com, formerly known as Twitter. So I don't know what's going on there. Uh, but it's stuff like that. Like they're still putting all this out. I just think as a physical magazine, its days might be a bit sadder for a little while.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of speaking to me too, as someone who prefers physical media. Now, obviously, they haven't had a physical magazine in America for almost a decade. It feels. Because I remember looking it up because I was willing to go buy a subscription, but they just don't offer it anymore.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think they just didn't have a big enough audience here for that. But there's plenty of other things like Dan to Dan getting an anime is completely digital.
Trojan
Spy
X.
Family, yeah, Trojan X, Tokyo Ghoul guy. I can't remember his name. Doing the same thing there. Um, so there is
Sakamoto
hope
Days.
there. Yeah, there is one too. I'm not as big on Sakamoto Days as you are. It's just kind of like
Yeah, you're
every
a
now and then it'll
Sakamoto
make me
hater.
laugh. Yeah, official Sakamoto hater. That's who I am. But yeah, this is something that's been on my mind. Not to take away from the other conversations we're going to have here today, but that's just where I was at. Anything else for Kagurabachi?
It's awesome. Read it.
I'll second that. It is fun. Like once again, I don't like it as much as you do, but it's still pretty good. Now, there's still a lot of potential here that I'm ready to see what the mangaka does with
Yeah,
this.
I'm
But
investing.
yeah. But speaking of runaway successes, something that is keeping the physical magazine very strong. Last week we had our latest chapter of One Piece, which is 1106. Sorry, I cannot speak today. So TJ, run me through what's happening here.
What isn't happening here? We are getting the showdown on Egghead Island, and it is insane. We just found out in 1106 that actually the pacifista have one more level to their hierarchy. Bonnie, anything she says, they have to do.
Yes.
So everyone's reeling with that, realization right now, which is kind of fun. Saint Saturn is extremely angry that Kuma is alive, which I feel understandably so. And
Yeah.
it's so there's so much going on. I feel like I'm missing something no matter what I say, because giants.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's really what I want to talk about. Dory and Bragi are here. At least Dory and Bragi are here. Which
It's
is
been about 1,000 chapters since we've seen them.
yeah. Yeah, and they're just they just know. They're like up to date on what Luffy is and everything. So like did they know the whole time? Or have they just been biding their time to come see him again? I don't know what's going on.
Have
But
they finally
it's
resolved their differences?
yeah, for now at least. We'll see. In a couple chapters. They'll probably go back to fighting each other. But it's just so cool to see the giant pirates arrive, and it is just a
Yes.
massive pirate ship. Like it's
Yeah.
we've seen some big ones, but
Yeah.
it's so good.
Oda's had a great way of leaving you on some cliffhangers before, but like that was an amazing one because it's been so long since we've seen them. It's like, oh yeah, you two exist, and you're willing to help out too. After we've just had the Buster call for Egghead Island, and then the rebellion of the pacifistas because of that thing that Vegapunk put in to say they would listen to Bonnie instead of everyone else, and of course Saturn being the scum of the earth that he is, about to finally get what's coming to him. It feels like. Let's hope. And this whole arc has been one of those desperately needed, in my opinion, because it wasn't like I didn't like Bonnie or Kuma before this, but like I didn't care about them as much. But this fleshes them out a lot more. Um, their whole backstory is so terrible and awful. Watching them be separated, Bonnie forcibly aged up a lot more. To try and be her own woman in the midst of this, trying to find her dad, like seeing her in the form of this woman calling Kuma daddy kind of breaks me. Just been like, oh, there was all that potential they could have had as like adopted daughter and father that was stolen by the world government and all this. And it's so great to see them get some comeuppance here, as great as the pacifistas have been as as an organizational tool to corrupt the world and make sure it stays in line, in a sense, messed with the Straw Hats before. It's good to see them turning on that, and such a powerful force at that, that Bonnie's orders supersede anything else. I love what Oda's done with this.
Yeah, I love it when Oda gets that inkling and he's like, I gotta remind these people what I'm about. You're not allowed to stop caring about anyone.
Nope. All these characters matter.
Yeah, Kuma's done. No, Bonnie back in the story. Story, Bragi, Elbaf's next. Wake up.
And speaking about Nika from earlier, like we get Vegapunk himself, like pretty much say that, yeah, he thinks Luffy is Nika. Yeah. Whether it's be like a reincarnation thing, or like just he's taken on the form of Nika thanks to, the Nika fruit and all that. Like,
yeah, and we're getting really close to finding out what the Void Century is about.
Yes,
because has to be what we're about to learn, because we know Vegapunk knows about the Void Century, everything that he can. That's why he's, trying to be slaughtered right now. Buster Call, we're finally about to see what our current team can do against a Buster Call, because for a long time that was like the attack above all attacks. Like if you get Buster Called, it's over. So we'll find out. The stakes here are actually higher than they were at Marineford, even if it doesn't feel as climactic, because Whitebeard's not here.
Of course,
Whitebeard's not here, and all the other Yonkos are licking their wounds. But the stakes here are high, extremely high, and I feel no tension because I'm not worried about them getting out of this at all. But I think that's not really Oda's fault.
Yeah.
There's just, what are you going to do to stop Luffy and Dory and Bragi and Robin and Zoro and Sanji? And Kizaru is still a wild card. Like, what is Kizaru willing to actually try and kill these people? Seems like he's not.
Well, I think we're also kind of forgetting one of the ultimate wild cards, and that there's a Blackbeard ship heading this way, too. Like, is he himself on it? Who is there? How are they going to show up in this? Are they going to ally with the Navy, or are they going to backstab Dim and Luffy? Or like, what's going to happen here?
Is it one of his triplet brothers? Who knows?
Yeah. It's wild and crazy times in One Piece. So nothing out of the ordinary, but still well worth your time.
Yeah, personally, I think he's just coming to get the best devil fruit he can. Someone gets close to death, and you can get the oh man, what is Kizaru's called? If he can get Kizaru's fruit, he's gonna.
Kizaru's? Nope, that's not how we do this here.
The light fruit.
I think that's right.
It's supposed to sound like light shining.
It is. Where'd you go? Come back. I'll get there in a second. Pika Pika no Mi.
Pika,
so,
of course, the Pika Pika no Mi. How could I forget?
But yeah, like that'd be a huge boon, because even though like we've seen like that hockey can affect that, it's still a great devil fruit. And with however the heck he is able to assimilate other devil fruits, which is once again something that's not supposed to happen, and he was able to do with Whitebeards, like that's terrifying. And how many other fruits has he taken in between since we saw him last, or has he been able to? Like, what are the limitations of his ability to do this? What makes him so special? He's able to do the impossible, like the literal impossible in this series.
Yeah. I think what he might do is just carry around a fruit and try to be close when a devil fruit user dies. Just, you have good odds of the next version of that fruit being in his pocket already.
It could very well be.
We don't know. We don't know how it works. I do like the theory that he can only get 3 and he's trying to get one of each. But I'm not sure if he would turn down having the Yami Yami no Mi and the Pika Pika no Mi.
I mean, they kind of clash together, and it's kind of a cool thing too. It's like darkness, light, and a Whitebeard's, was it Earthquake?
Yeah, the Goro Goro no Mi.
Yeah. So, yeah, guys, if you're not caught up with One Piece, if you're so scared that number I was really trying hard to say, 1,106 chapters, it's okay. You can do it. Like, the Dungeon Meshi was what, only 97?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's possible to get done quickly. Like, even if you just read 2 or 3 chapters a day.
Yeah, or you can read like 100 a day.
I mean, you
Most
could
of
get
you,
caught
you
up in no
probably,
time.
yeah, you probably get like 2 days off a week of work or school. Some of
Mhm.
you might get 7. What have you got to lose but time?
Yeah. Just disregard family and friends, acquire One Piece,
Acquire One
That's what you
Piece.
need.
Like, anywhere 10 to 100 chapters a day, you'll be caught up in no time.
All right. Anything else you want to say, TJ, before we wrap things up?
It's only getting longer.
That is very true. All right. Well, guys, thank you for listening today. We really appreciate this. This always goes to the patrons first. Thank you guys for your support. We really appreciate what you do. To our YouTube listeners, please just leave a like, share this video, comment, make Will happy. Like, could you do that for poor Will? He needs you to like, share, and comment. Like, he's in desperate need in a season of giving.
Will desperately needs online YouTube validation.
Yes. And you know what? We can only do so much on our own. So we need you to help.
Yeah. We can't love Will as much as he deserves to be loved without your help.
And with that all in mind, thank you guys once more. And until next time, see ya.